Today, I want to offer you a 6-point setup plan for how to assess and alter the setup of primarily electric guitars, but much of this applies to acoustic too. Now, this is not my area of expertise, so I've partnered for this video with master guitar builder and luthier James Collins. James is local to me. He makes his own range of fabulous high-end electric guitars and runs regular workshops teaching people to become certified guitar setup experts themselves. Everything that James teaches in that one-day workshop, he offers in an online course that I will link to at the top of the description and that I'm going to show clips of in this video. I do get an affiliate kickback from that affiliate link if you do choose to purchase the course, just for full transparency. But it's a really fabulous course. I'm midway through doing this myself, which is why I feel at a level where I can kind of give you guys a bit of background about this. But what are those 6 points to a guitar setup that we need to be aware of? Firstly, you want to make sure your guitar is 100% in tune and that you're making the adjustments in the tuning that that guitar is going to be in. If you're going to be leaving your guitar primarily in open G tuning or drop D tuning, make sure you measure and assess the setup in that tuning. Point 2 is neck relief. Neck relief is the controlled bow of your guitar's neck via adjusting the truss rod. We need some relief, so some bow, otherwise the strings won't vibrate at every fret and you can get dead strings if you have too low an action with neck relief that isn't optimal. Neck relief influences string height or action height. Action is how far a string needs to be pressed to then ring out at that certain fret. So that is our step 3 on this 6 points, action height. Point 4 is the saddle radius, such as this floating bridge. We have a radius. We can adjust the height of these to match the radius of the fretboard. Point 5 is floating the bridge. This guitar has a floating bridge and this can be adjusted. And finally, intonation, which is making sure that your guitar is in tune at every fret, not just the open strings. And that's all about string length compensation. This can be adjusted by these screws just here and should be the last point in your guitar setup. And it is also paramount that we do all of this with shiny new strings. Old rusted strings are going to give you bad results. Change your strings first. Make sure you change them to the gauge that you would like to have that guitar in going forward. And then check out this 6 points to guitar setup. Let's have a look at some clips now from this course. The only one that we're skipping is tuning your guitar. Make sure you do it with some sort of clip-on or electronic tuner. But if this is something you're looking into, I'm sure you know how to tune your guitar. The minimum amount of equipment you'll probably need is some sort of ruler or something to measure your string height or action, a screwdriver, an Allen key for your truss rod, and very small Allen keys for your saddle and bridge. There are, of course, luthier's kits you can get, maintenance kits that you can get, but these are the bare minimum. Any other tools that are used in this video, I'll put on screen exactly what they are, and I will list them in the description below. So let's get on to step 2, which is assessing the neck relief and adjusting it via the truss rod. And in this clip, James is using a notched straight edge measurement tool and a feeler gauge to measure the neck relief. Here it is.
Using our feeler gauge. Okay, so that's 14 thousandths of an inch. And it's just scraping, although I think I could better get another one through. We're going to go clockwise, so right tighty, lefty loosey. And we're going to come up to 2 o'clock, okay? So holding the guitar, the fretboard, because you could move the guitar, we're going to pull this up to 2. It's nice and easy, it's not too difficult. Most important is to retune, and what you can anticipate is it might be a slightly sharp, as that A is, so we're just going to detune it and tune it back up. Our aim being 8 thousandths of an inch on this, which is halfway between the lowest amount on our spec sheets and the highest amount of 12,000. Okay, so at the moment, that is 12 thousandths of an inch neck relief, which is actually your factory specs, which will be in your notes.
Point 3 is action height, which is of course influenced by neck relief, but also influenced by bridge height, saddle height, and also the height of the strings at the nut. Now we generally measure action height at the 12th fret, where the double dot is on this guitar, with a string action gauge or ruler. However, if you want to measure action height without influence of the height of the strings from the nut, we can put a capo or a capo at the 1st fret and measure at the 17th fret, which can give you a more accurate reading. Let's have a look at how James does that now.
So hopefully, as you should be able to see, that is just 4/30 seconds. If I put that there, you can see that 4/30 seconds is just to the underside of the string. And then if we look at the treble side, it is 3/30 seconds. A little easier to see. So with an Allen key in these grub screws, we're going to lower them and lower the saddle both of the same amount rather than at an angle. So we'll just turn that the same amount. I'll just visually check, that's nice. And we'll just see where that is. It's still a little bit high, so I'm going to do a tiny bit more. And then I'm going to tune it back up to pitch. Important to do so because this is now C.
Point 4 is saddle radius, and we measure this with a radius gauge. As a recap, this is referring to the adjustments we can make on the bridge, which can make the saddle height more closely mimic the radius of your fretboard. This can be tailored to the player's preference, but this can be adjusted here. And let's see James do just that.
Our radius gauge at 7 1/4. We're going to rest this on essentially the outer E's, which are set, and we're going to play each string, and hopefully we'll hear it touching. So that's good. Essentially screw in these 2 grub screws here, the same amount, lifting it up a little bit, which would have made it go sharp. See, now it's touching, so I'll just retune that.
Point 5 is floating the bridge, which refers to only for guitars that have a whammy bar or this kind of floating bridge on this Strat, which is adjusted at the back. Let's have a look at James giving a great demonstration of this now.
Now we're going to tighten the claw up so there's more tension in the springs, so the strings won't pull it up quite so far. I'm going to do a full turn on each of the claw screws. Try to get that even. That usually brings it up about, or changes it by about a 32nd of an inch. This does require a little bit of patience because as the strings are getting back up to pitch, you get the bass E in, that's pulling up on the bridge. So your A will go flat. So even though you get your next string, the D, up to pitch, you've just flattened your A. But you keep on going through E to E. Always bring them nicely up to the note. Now look, our E is slightly flat again. No point judging the amount of lift on the bridge at the moment whilst it's still settling. Just this final couple of turns getting it perfectly at pitch might be enough to put it up a small amount too.
And finally, point 6 is intonation. This is checking that your guitar is in tune at every fret all along the neck, not just at the open strings.
Okay, so I'll open E, just play it a couple of times, make sure the attack is consistent, and then we're going to play the fretted note at the 12th fret. And what we're after is exactly that, it being the same note. So we'll move on to the A. Now as you can see, that's just slightly sharp. Your bars above where the optimum tuning is are both about 5 cents of a note each one. So that being hovering at about 1 over or 2 would indicate it's about 5 cents of a note sharp. So we're going to lengthen the scale on that by screwing in, and this saddle will come back. So you will see that the note will have gone sharp. So we tune down and then back up to our A. Play the fretted note. Now that's come back up to A, and as it's fallen flat.
Intonation is all about string length compensation. If a fretted note is sharp, then the string/scale length needs to be extended, therefore the saddle needs to be moved back. If the fretted note is flat, the scale needs shortening and the saddle will need to be moved forward. As always, retune after every small adjustment, and it's really important that this should be done last in this setup step method. So there it is. Those are the 6 points to guitar setup that James Collins recommends, and I stand by them too. James's online course, as well as going through all the theory and practical of that guitar setup for any acoustic or electric guitar, all the different types. It also goes into great detail on guitar maintenance, from cleaning a fretboard and how to treat it, to maintaining and adjusting all other aspects of acoustic and electric guitars. Especially if you're spending a lot of money on a few electric guitars, this is a really good thing to invest in so that you can look after and manage your own guitars. Make sure they play great and make sure they outlive us all. The link to that course is at the top of the description below. By purchasing that course from the link below, you're not only supporting James and his business, you are supporting mine because it's an affiliate link. You're keeping these YouTube lessons for free. Thank you so much for that support throughout the years. Thank you to James for sponsoring this video. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.